I'm going to show you now how to use a slicer in a pivot table. So a slicer is a way of creating almost like a filter, but rather than having to use the fiddly drop down arrows, you get nice big buttons. Also, another benefit of the slicer is you don't actually have to have the piece of information visible on the pivot table to be able to filter the pivot table by that piece of information, because that piece of information is presented in the slicer. Look, enough talk. How I do this, I click anywhere inside the pivot table. I go to pivot table tools at the top and analyze. Now, different versions might be called slightly different. You might have one that says options here, or it might say pivot table analyze. It's usually going to be the first tab that appears at the top, usually the first one here. Click onto there and you'll have a button called insert slicer. Now, Insert Slicer is available to anyone who is using Excel 2010 or onwards. So if you've got Office 365, you'll definitely have it. As long as you've got Excel 2010 or newer, you will have this option in there. So once I'm ready, click on Insert Slicer and you pick the items that you want to produce, do some filtering for. So I'm going to go for region, quarter and product. Once I'm ready, click OK, and it will give me these buttons where I can place them, at my leisure on the screen, to suit what I want my, my Excel file to look like. Now, by default, if I click onto one item in a slicer, it filters that pivot table to that one item. I can use my Control key or my Shift key to multi-select. And can you see, again, similarly, I can pick the various ways that I want to display the data by picking the items in the list. I've used the Control or the Shift key to multi-select. If you have a newer version of Excel, you can tick these little sort of like tick list items. And what this means is it means these become a sticky click. So can you see on or off? Can you see I can just click down without using my Control or my Shift key? Also, if you want to bring everything back, we click the little funnel with a cross. That means it's going to tick everything for you. Can you see funnel with a cross, funnel with a cross? So what these slicers are, they're a more visual representation of what you are filtering to. If you want to get rid of them, click on the slicer, press delete on the keyboard. Again, look, click on the slicer, delete on the keyboard, and that'll remove it. But it's a very nice addition to a pivot table, and it kind of helps you bring your spreadsheets in towards being more like a dashboard, shall we say. So that is how to add a slicer to a pivot table within Excel.